Good evening. Good evening. Appreciate all of you being able to attend our training with our fine friends here at Honeywell. Have a nice group here in the house, but we also have several members online that are streaming this training, so certainly appreciate them attending as well. Have any questions? As always, every training's better when you get involved and ask questions. Gary will field those for you. Be more than happy to. So the more you ask questions, the more you get involved, the more you get out of it. Please do so. It's very informal as we move along. Before I get off stage here, I just wanted to introduce our presenter for the evening. His name is Gary Crosby. Gary has been with Honeywell since 2006. He is a former contractor in the HVAC field, so he knows exactly what you're all going through, what the issues are, what's to look for, what the benefits. So he has a great experience and depth of knowledge that is nice to have from both sides, both manufacturer and contractor, and can really see both sides of it for you to give you that experience and insight. So just wanted to, again, welcome you. Thank you so much for your time. We do appreciate it. We know it's kind of hard in the evenings to get here from 5 to 7, but we really appreciate you making the efforts. Some real exciting stuff that we're going to go through. Some humidifiers, but we also have some new products that Gary's going to introduce to you towards the end and talk to you about those things. So, again, any questions, please feel free to ask those. If those in attendance here physically, if you haven't, please make sure you sign up for the raffle because we have some real nice Honeywell wind shirts that we're going to give away towards the end as well. And if you ask some questions, I'm sure we got a ton of Boy Scout popcorn to give away as well. So certainly appreciate you having the effort to be here. And with that, I'll bring Gary up and we'll get started. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks. And I wanted to say thanks to Kurt and Chrissy, Ashley, and Mike. You never get to really see behind the scenes of what goes on, and they do an amazing job. So I want to say thanks for doing all this for us. So we're going to get into we're heading into fall, right? And you're going to be in a lot of houses for cleaning checks. And what's a cleaning check? It's an opportunity, correct? It's more than just getting the heat going. It's do they need a new thermostat? Do they need a humidifier? Do they need an air cleaner? All these things that we want to do to get extra money. But honestly, we don't want to do anything dishonestly. But if you're one of the contractors that think that it's bad to offer things to homeowners, I want you to really rethink your position, because the days of being able to, I got enough work to not do that are kind of going away. People aren't replacing equipment like they used to. Tony, you see it every day, right? I mean, it's a repair economy. It still is, and we want to make sure that you get every bit of revenue you can off of any call that you're going on in your home. So we're going to start off with some thermostats, some different things. We're going to go back over wireless, kind of go back to 2008 when Honeywell actually said this is the direction we want to take the industry, because really, I mean, when's the last, who knows where a payphone is? Anybody? I can't tell you where one is. Maybe jail, but I haven't been there. But there's no, I mean, everything we do just about is wireless. This little thingy here I'm using in my hand. Our cell phones, our laptops, our everything in a home is wireless these days. Most homeowners have a Wi-Fi system in their house to do things wirelessly, but we're still wiring stuff between a furnace and a thermostat. And how many of you wire up a furnace, to a thermostat and it has no common at all? Just the red, the white, the yellow, the green. Is there many of those? So even though there's a wire tethered between those two devices, there's no safety. It's just a wire. The battery is the power in that stat, even if it has a wire between it. Unless it's common between those two, then it's a battery-operated stat. And when we first rolled out wireless thermostats, maybe we shouldn't have used the word wireless so much, because it makes people think, well, if the battery dies, what am I going to do? So we're going to go back to where we started in 2008. And where we are today, and where we're going to be tomorrow. Okay. So, how many of you have put in a focus, or this kind of a thermostat here? 5,000 or 6,000, they're common. We actually sell more of those thermostats than any of our family of thermostats. Just millions of these things move out the door. But even our brand here, if I just have that wired to my furnace and, you know, something was to, you know, I didn't have a common, like this gentleman over here said he didn't have. Well, what happens if the battery dies and that thermostat or something goes wrong with it? I have no heat. I have no cooling. So with these systems here, we have these return air sensors that come with them that allow that if I lose signal of that stat, it's gonna start a 30-minute timer in this board here that says, I haven't seen the thermostat. What's going on? Let's start a 30-minute timer. And then after 30 minutes, it's going to say, well, I still don't see a thermostat. It'll never let that house get colder than 62 or hotter than 82. And that's a benefit to your homeowner. That's better than a wired stat. And the fact of doing that alone helps you give more value to your customer. These are also wireless outdoor sensors. How many of you love running a hardwired sensor outside? Nobody really loves it. Have you ever run an outdoor sensor?
No.
I have.
Probably. Yes, I have.
But and sometimes it's easy and sometimes it's not. It's generally not. And then most of the time I get called out and they'll say, hey, you know, this outdoor sensor that I've got hooked up to this, you know, touchscreen thermostat is reading 10 degrees off. And I'll go out there and they'll use the 2 extra wires that were in the number 8 wire going outside, right? Can't do that. It says plainly in the instructions not to do that, but we do that. And then you got ohms resistance next to 24-volt power, and that interference causes it to read off. So, and then let's say I can run a separate wire outside. Now where the sun, it's always where the sun is. You know, it's never in the shady spot. So it's a big time waster.
Well, I run into customers don't like the look of the wire on the side of the house.
Yeah, big old black wire in a cradle.
I got to run it. Yeah.
So, yeah, and it's aesthetics, and that matters to some people, right? So this nice little doohickey here, that's our wireless outdoor sensor. Lithium batteries last for 5 years. With lithium batteries, you can't put alkalines in it because it gets very hot here and it gets very cold here. Alkaline lasts about 2 weeks in that system. Lithium, they last a good 5 years. And you'll get a flashing light on there that says, hey, it's 2 months away, it's change me, and they should be changing the batteries. You should be doing it on a service call or a maintenance call anyway, okay? So that's a little bit of revisiting about what those are. So this is all, RedLINK is our Bluetooth, so to speak. It's the Honeywell name for our wireless technology. So we're going to watch a quick video about kind of what RedLINK is. It's been a while since I've shown it. So we'll just watch this for a second.
But the first thing we had to do is figure out what do the customers really want. We really started with Honeywell Security. Honeywell Security has put millions of devices in homes, very reliable. They've done it for many, many years. And we got all the groups together and said, okay, we need a new protocol for HVAC and residential. What should we do? We need the same level of reliability as security. In the HVAC industry, we have seen no protocols like this. If there were an industry standard, we would have used it if it met what our customers really needed. But when you're in a house, you've got different materials, you've got different floors, you've got metal, you've got stucco, you've got brick. What we did in the end is we have a system that has these multiple frequencies. It's called frequency Agile. So instead of just staying on one frequency, it moves with 50 different frequencies. When we do that, the FCC allows us to transmit at a higher power. We can use that power to get across the house in one hop, which is extremely important to the customers. And so it's really just challenging the product. Can we break it? Can we do anything that would make it not work? When the devices recognize each other and they've been addressed to each other, they don't interfere with your neighbors. It's a very important thing. There are so many unique codes that wouldn't happen. So when we send a message, we do multiple frequencies, multiple antennas to get a message out. And also we get confirmation. Did the message get there or not? If for whatever reason the message didn't, we send it again. User has nothing to think about. We haven't found a house we couldn't get everywhere in. Well, for installing contractors, it opens up a huge possibility of doing things that they've wanted to do and now can do. With wireless, they know exactly how long it's going to take, it's going to be easy, and it's not going to be different for every job. So reliability was job number one when we built RedLINK.
So, wireless focus probe comes in a programmable and non-programmable. Does anybody put these in? They're very, very nice and easy to put in. So what you have is this here, mounts it to your equipment. Your wire is a foot away. It'll do 3 heat, 2 cool, dual fuel. It'll do 2 heat, 2 cool, 1 heat, 1 cool, 3 wires on valve, 2 wire boiler. That one system will run all those pieces of equipment. And then you have the wireless thermostat, and then you got the 2-wire return air sensor that ties in to that right down there at your equipment. So no wires between the thermostat and the module. So on a new install, it's great. Homeowner doesn't want the thermostat over here where it's been for the last 30 years. On a service truck, it's great because what do you do if you got to move a wire or they want that thermostat relocated? It could take hours to do that. So this takes minutes to do. So it's just a whole different level of service at that point. And when you're not taking a big old long drill bit out of your truck and taking your hammer and busting a hole in the wall, it makes you look more professional to just ask them, where would you like your new thermostat? Simply mount it, push a button, and connect. You have a question?
Is the return air, is that required or is that just a safety?
It's a safety. You don't have to put it in, but I highly recommend you do.
What does it do for you though?
If you lose signal to your thermostat for whatever reason,
That's what.
it'll never let the house get colder than 62 or hotter than 18.
Okay.
It reverts to Energy Star settings is what it amounts to, which is huge because you're in Florida and you got a house and it's 0 degrees outside, and you have no monitor system or whatever, which we're going to talk about how you can even do that. At least my pipes aren't going to freeze, right? So that's what it's there for. And then we have the programmable and the non-programmable. Now, there is an Indiana code now, and I don't know how they're enforcing it, that you have to put programmable stats in on new construction. Is that correct? That's the way I understand it. Now, it's county by county. So you have to know your county codes, and you have to put programmables on, from what I understand. So, still the same thermostat that you're used to. Large display. I mean, the homeowner can't tell if it's the hardwired version or the wireless version. They can't tell. But the reason that that I like to have these at least as an installed base is because you can add that to the internet later. If you go back on the service call, we'll get into that in the next couple slides. But let's say that the power dies because we had a big storm roll through Indianapolis here. After the power gets cut back on in 6 minutes or less, this reconnects. It's everything that you program into it's there permanent. So there's no reconnecting that the homeowner has to do, or I got to go back and push this button again. You don't do any of that. It's totally, once you set it up, it's done.
Is this available for Vision Pro?
There will be a wireless Vision Pro this next year. So this is this came out in 2008. This was our first platform for wireless. So you see more and more coming, and that will be your next one. Can't wait for it myself. Prestige IAQ. This is your next. How many of you put a Vision Pro IAQ in? 3-wire touchscreen with a module. I mean, they're as common as it gets. Well, this came out last year as the upgrade to it. I only need 2 wires between this module and this thermostat. So, and those 2 wires are just red and common. It's just power. All the 4 heat, 2 cool signals are getting sent between this and this wirelessly. Okay? And when I say wirelessly with RedLINK, in open air, I can walk a 1/4 mile down the road and turn the furnace on and off. Once I stack house around it, it's 10,000 square feet. I mean, you'll be hard pressed to find a house that you can't put this in. And it's not just for residential. We make this for, how many of you do like commercial jobs? So I'm I'm gonna go through some of this setup on this thermostat. Whenever you first put the power to it, there's English and French and Spanish. So, for that French-speaking, section of Indianapolis, you got them covered. We don't have to. We sell in Canada too. NAFTA, you can thank NAFTA for that. But there are going to be some pockets around town where they may speak Spanish and they may only understand Spanish, and you can set it up in English and then go back to this screen and say display in Spanish. And the only Spanish I know is Cinco de Mayo, so that's it.
There you go.
And more cerveza. Nice beer. So I can set that up, and then here it's going to ask me, am I residential or am I commercial? Now, my counterpart and I just landed a deal with a local food chain. They were putting just regular thermostats in there. They had no control on them. They couldn't lock the keys out. They couldn't go to the internet and control them. So we've got 4 of these in each of their stores with a gateway router, which I'm going to show you in a little bit. And they're going to let us put them in all their stores. They can manage it. It's low-cost energy management. So Kurt, or Mike, how much is the 2.0?
258.
Okay, so we'll say $260. And then how much is the gateway?
99.
So, I mean, for, I don't know what you charge to do the job. Let's say you charge them $2,000, okay? Or let's say you charge them $1,500 or whatever, because you got to put it in. But you know what, and that would get them on the internet from their computer. They could put one. Let's say they had 3, car lots or something. They wanted to manage their temperatures in their showrooms. Well, one person could do all that. And you can do all that at relatively low cost for energy management, because it's $0 to $5,000 once you start getting into WebStat and Jace and BACnet controllers. Those things are extremely expensive and probably overkill for that type of business, right? So this allows that to open up the whole revenue stream for you by going to light commercial jobs. Use this on every one of them. And then when you say it's commercial, it doesn't say wake, leave, return, and sleep. I mean, they explain to McDonald's owner what sleep period is. They should be working. It's occupied, unoccupied. And it also has the recovery ramps that you need for a commercial thermostat, not made for a house. So if you're putting residential stats on a commercial building, I need you to just start putting this in there, because it's made for, it does the hot gas bypass, it'll run your economizers. Those are all the things you need to do for a commercial. For residential, I'll choose residential. I can name the thermostat. So if I, let's say if it's the Crosby house, which is my last name, which is exactly what mine says, I'm going to just put Crosby house in there. So if I ever hook it up to the internet, that's what's going to show up on my account. I'll show you here in a little bit. And I know which, or if it's a commercial job, it'd be store 402, store 403, and I know what I'm looking at and which one I can get in and control. And if it's a zone system, that's only if you're hooking it to a Honeywell zone panel with a wireless connection. Otherwise, I'm going to choose non-zone. And then it's going to connect to the module. Now that module, I may have a furnace upstairs, and I may have a furnace downstairs. So I'd have a module upstairs and a module downstairs. So this is why we want you to name, EIM stands for Equipment Interface Module, which is the part that mounts the furnace. So I would want to name that upstairs furnace or second floor or whatever, okay? Or I could just simply call it number 2, EIM number 2. Now, it'll name that device, and then it'll ask me if I want to connect any other accessories. The wireless outdoor sensor is an accessory, okay? And to enroll it, all I have to do is push the button, okay? But to get to that point in the installation of the thermostat, I'm going to say yes, and it's going to give me a 15-minute countdown timer. So I'm going to walk around to the wireless devices I have. haven't showed you this yet, but this can be hooked to it. So if I got a 2-story house that I can't zone because, you know, they covered up all the ductwork and I can't get dampers in, I can enroll this to my thermostat, and it goes. This also works with the Focus Pro I showed you. And at night, I can say read from this device and take it up and set it by my nightstand, and it'll cool to that instead of my downstairs thermostat. It's still going to overcool, but not as much. But it's, you know, better than taking the thermostat off the wall, taking it upstairs.
That would go with any stat, or you'd have to...
It'd have to be the wireless Focus Pro or this one, okay? And then no matter how many of these wireless or prestige thermostats I have in the house, I only need one outdoor sensor. That's even better, right? Because if I had a bunch of touchscreens, what do I have to do? I got to run an outdoor sensor to every one of those touchscreens. And all I have to do is push the button once, and it connects. And now I've got wireless outdoor temperature and humidity. I didn't have to run a single wire. Very, very simple stuff. So once I do that, I'm done. I can make this a programmable thermostat or a non-programmable thermostat. Some people don't want programmable thermostats, right? Next, Fahrenheit or Celsius, outdoor sensor, we added it. This thing will run a heat pump, radiant heat, cool only, heat only. But if I'm doing dual fuel, right, you guys, everybody do dual fuel in here? How many of you are Geo dealers? Almost all of you probably do Geo nowadays. You always choose what your condenser is, right? Because if it's a dual fuel, I'm going to have to choose heat pump, correct? If it's just a gas furnace with a straight AC, that's conventional, all right, in Honeywell speak. So we're going to choose a heat pump here. Then we're going to say air-to-air or geothermal, right? Or geothermal radiant. This thermostat will do 4 heat, 2 cool, and 2 other radiant zones out of the geothermal system. So it's actually 6 heat, 2 cool if you are that crazy. But we can get crazy with it. So if I want it, now the reason that I choose air-to-air would be I've got an air-to-air unit on the condenser, obviously, and if I choose geothermal, it gives me a few more features for geothermal, and I'll go through them. Anybody in here a Ream dealer or a Rudd? So you're going to have to switch this to B.
D, yeah.
Because you're the only one that's different. I'm sorry. Okay? Everybody else is going to energize and cool. All right? So that's just your reversing valve action. It defaults to the majority. I changed my compressor stages. I got two compressors, 2 stages of backup heat. You notice we haven't been using a manual to do this? Because you don't need one. This is all plain language. I mean, you're just answering the questions. It's a neat thing. But for instance, if you needed help, that part of the manual is built into this thermostat, right? You don't have to carry around the book. And the book's really vague because it's built into the stat. So we purposely didn't write a Bible. We just said you can figure this out. Next, I'm going to say standard efficiency, high efficiency. Who knows what cycles per hour mean? What cycles per hour?
How many times it thinks it needs to come on
In
per
an
hour
hour.
to maintain the temperature you want?
And what is that in a digital thermostat? It's digital heat anticipation is what it is, guys. Remember heat anticipators? You never set them, you just kind of twirled them, and it's like Wheel of Fortune, wherever it laid, that's where it's going to be. You took red and W in your millivolt reader, and it would tell you where to set that dial, and it would build up a little heat in that secondary coil so that you wouldn't overshoot cooling with that T87. Okay. Well, in a digital thermostat, there's no way to do that, so we just do cycles per hour. So the industry recommends if it's a 90% or higher, we need to be 3 cycles an hour. Well, instead of choosing 3, 2, or 1 or whatever, we're just asking you again in plain language what you have. And before long, you're not even going to be able to put in 80s, right? Are we above the line?
Yeah.
So everything's going to 90, which is good. And I'm going to choose high efficiency, but if I've got the 80 out there, you want to make sure you put it there, okay? And if it's a rooftop package unit, it's going to be an 80 forever. They're not going to, can't make a 90 plus on a roof. It creates water, correct? So I don't know what they're going to do about that. Thermostat controls backup heat. The Vision Pro IQ kind of revolutionized dual fuel, don't you agree?
So you don't do any smart sensing like some of these have adaptive technology. They sense how long it takes for your furnace to heat up, and then they kind of adjust the stat that way.
Yeah, we invented that. It's called,
okay. That's basically doing the same thing there. The cycles per hour.
Cycles per hour. Yeah, it's just keeping it from overheating or overcooling, and then that's with the system that you put in. It starts with you running a load calculation, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're not running load calculations and you're just throwing in a 5-ton when the house needs a 3-ton, the air conditioning place needs to come take you away because you shouldn't be doing that. You should be sizing these things correctly. And we're assuming that you do. Got automatic or manual changeover. Okay? Some people like this. They can keep it in the range they want. You see it a lot in the South where I'm from. I see it a lot on commercial jobs. They'll keep it in, like 68 and 74 or something like that. So you should all be familiar with changeover, automatic changeover by now. In stage, each individual, first stage, second stage, third stage, fourth stage, a lot of people don't like the P+I control. Well, not a lot of people, 2 or 3 people a year. But I'll say, hey, this thing's, it's keeping it too perfect in here. I'm like, what? That's the idea. We're trying to keep it plus or minus 1 degree. All of our thermostats are made with a P+I control, which is 2 different errors. It's like I got my GPS set, right? I'm going to Louisville tonight, and if I take a wrong turn, what does your GPS say? Recalculating, right? Front door opens, we're recalculating. We're trying to keep it plus or minus 1 degree. We may bump it up to second stage until we can drop it back down to first. So we're trying to keep it plus or minus 1 degree at all times. On geothermal, though, some of those customers, they don't need third stage to cut on until it might be almost 0 outside, right? And that's been a big problem with geo jobs. So we added this feature in there for you guys on geo, where you can say, instead of not installing the backup electric, or they've got the breaker shut off, right? And now they've got no backup until they call somebody to come and install the kit or turn the breaker back on. I can spread this out, my second, third stage, from 2 to 15 degrees. So now I've got a proper backup on that window. I don't have that customer calling me telling me that, hey, you just sold me a $20,000 geothermal system and my electric bill is still $400. The reason is because them strips are cutting on too fast. So you can totally spread that out with this thermostat. On air-to-air systems, where at night, you know how you set it back, because I like to sleep cold. I don't know about you. I like to sleep cold at night, and then when I get up in the morning, I want it to be warm. So I set my thermostat back to about 62 at night, and then in the morning, I want it 70. I'm that much of a swing, and we cover up. And I got a dual fuel, so some customers don't like to hear that heat pump cut on at 3 o'clock in the morning and run all the way to 5 or 6. And you'll get that call. Anybody ever had that call from a customer complaining about that? Now, heat pumps are made to run, so it's not hurting it, but they just don't want to hear it. So you can actually upstage the timer and say, if it doesn't get it to temperature in 30 minutes, go to furnace. But we'll override the balance point for you. You see what I mean? So this will get you out of, you can really custom fit this to whatever your homeowner's needs are. And then this is where you'd set your balance point for your dual fuel. There are laws in Kentucky, and actually if you read the Indiana Energy Code that came out earlier this year, they really want you locking out the electric strips above 40 degrees if the heat pump can produce enough heat. Now the inspectors are not enforcing this. They don't know how, but it is the code. So our Vision Pro and up with an outdoor sensor allows you to do that. Okay, and then if you got an inspector that starts to inspect these things, you can prove it. Okay. Then I can add some other stuff. Let's add some indoor and outdoor, return and discharge sensor. we package these with 2 sensors, a supply and a return. Now I can get delta T all the time viewing on my thermostat. So when I do charging, I don't have to pull out all my meters to do it. I could just turn the system on, go into test mode, and I'll show you here in a minute. It'll actually show me my delta T range. I can also program in there that, I mean, what's a normal delta T, guys, during the summer? Huh? 18, something like that. So if I start hovering in the high 20s, there's a problem. Either their filter's clogged or the compressor's about to go out. So now we can start generating faults based on delta T with these 2 sensors, and this thermostat allows that. And it's a really, really nice option. I can also, if I don't want to do that, I can take some float switches and put them in my drain pans, and a wet switch in the floor, and anytime those trip, it'll email me if I got it hooked to the rig, which I'll show you in a minute, or at least it'll come up on the screen so the homeowner knows that, hey, you got a drain pan full of water, right? How many of you are plumbers? How many? So, how many of you see sump pumps, whether you're a plumber or not? So if you got this thermostat installed, there's another set of terminals. I can hook any dry contact I want to it, and I can custom type in what it is. So in this case, let's just say it's a sump pump, and I can label what my alert is. So I could type in sump pump alert, which I'm not going to do. And then my message that the customer is going to get, either on the screen or emailed to them, would be, you need to call us right away, our search department right away. Your sump pump is overflowing. The first day you save somebody $20,000 with the water damage, it doesn't matter what they pay for this thing, right? It just paid for itself in a big way. And I've had these out here for 2 years and nobody hardly ever hooks them up. I don't get it. And I tell you what, if you don't start doing it, guess who's going to get you business?
ADT.
ADT's already doing it. Comcast is putting in thermostats. You got people that want your business, and it's your business. And we've got it. And you just need to hopefully start doing it. Tell it what type of air cleaner I got, what type of humidifier I have, if I need window protection, and I'll go through all that stuff. I could put a dehumidifier in there. I could use my furnace as a dehumidifier. How many of you do ventilation? It's sad. It's a sad, sad thing. HVAC. Everybody just uses H and AC. V stands for ventilation. It's one of the most important things we can do for a customer is to ventilate their home. How many of you see Icynene houses now? You know what that is? That spray foam insulation? That house is tight as it gets. And everything that's produced in that house, every off-gassing piece of material, formaldehyde-based OSB board, cooking, everything is you're just now slow poisoning for that family over the life of them living in that house. We can hook up ventilators to this system too. So I can add an ERV or an HRV, or just put a piece of duct into my return and put a damper on it and control it that way.
Is that like a fresh air module? Is that what you're talking
like
about?
Like a YD150 that you buy so many of.
Right,
Absolutely.
okay.
And they do it because it's code.
Right.
But it really should be done in places where it's not code, which is here, because it's best practice. And it's what you do. You're heating, ventilation, air conditioning contractors, and ventilation is the most unused part of it. And this thermostat will actually ask you what the bedrooms are, the square footage of the house, what size machine you're putting in, and it will tell you whether or not you're meeting the ASHRAE standard for ventilation. It's like putting oil in your car. If I don't put enough in, what happens? It's bad, right? There's a line there for a reason. If I put too much oil in, it's bad. So that line on the dipstick is the perfect level of oil. Us asking those 3 questions on ventilation ensures you that your customer is going to get the right amount of ventilation based on the house size they have and the number of bedrooms. All that math is done by us in the software. You don't have to do all that math. If you saw the equation, you'd run from it, and that's why really nobody does it anyway.
Is this the only stat that controls? Like
Vision
the
Pro
first year
IQ
model?
does. The W8150 little control is just that built into the stat. Vision Pro IQ, this thermostat, and you can ventilate as well. So let's look at what's in it for the homeowner. That's very easy to set up for you guys, right? So how many of you have a USB stick or know what one is? This is my chapstick, by the way. I have some really serious chap lips right now. But at the bottom of this thermostat is a USB stick. So if I put that in the bottom of there, I can, and we just did a dual fuel, right? We just did a 2 heat, 2 cool, dual fuel, which actually means it's 4 heat. I got 2-stage compressor, and then below 35, I go 2-stage gas valve. That's 4 stages of heat. I save all those setups and I label my file, my 4 heat, 2 cool, dual fuel file. And then I set up my next one, my 3 heat, 2 cool system, my 2 heat, 2 cool system, my 1 heat, 1 cool system, my 3-wire zone valve, my 2-wire boiler. No matter what you do, and then the next time you go out on a job, you stick it in that little puppy in the bottom of that thermostat, and I'm doing a geo job today, bam, sets it up like that. I don't have to go through each one. We're trying to make it as easy as possible for you. But what's in it for the homeowner? Well, they get to see that it's negative 39. Our engineers have a very wicked sense of humor. So it's a very cold day. But they get to see it's 39 degrees outside, or negative 39. This is my outdoor humidity. Here's my time of day and temperature. Here's my indoor temperature and humidity. The information's there.
You're going to need ventilation with that much humidity.
Yeah, well, you can lock out the ventilation when it's too humid outside with this. It's awesome, because I got that wireless outdoor sensor that reads temperature and humidity. So I've got some parameters in the setup where I can say, you know, when it's raining, I may not want to bring it in. Wait till it's not raining, or wait till the conditions are correct. So the cool thing about this is not only is it a good looking stat, but it gives the homeowners the information they need. And then let's look at the control. Create and edit schedule. How many of you program your customers' thermostats when you put them in? And then how many of them forget the next day? And then they call you back and say,
Can you show me again?
can you bring that T87 back you ripped off? Because we understood it. You know? I mean, I got those calls as a contractor too. Chronotherm 3.
Oh, yeah.
Ugh. Every one of them's on hold that we ever sold. I don't know why we even sold a programmable version of it. That ought to have been called the hold thermostat. But this one here, when you put this one in, you're going to do this. You're going to stand here like this with the homeowner, okay? And you're going to say, we're going to program your stat now. You're going to take them in front of it, guide me through the scheduling, pick the number of days you want the same. Well, we're pretty much home. We're not home during the week because we all work, right? And then it's going to ask you those same questions that you have. What we did is made a virtual tech and put it in this thermostat. The same questions you're asking this homeowner, they can't get it wrong, right? Is someone home all day? Well, I should be able to answer that. Good thing. And you know, I have faith in people. They do. They know how to answer that. When's the first person wake up? Last person leave? First person return home? Last person go to sleep? What temperature do you prefer when you wake it up in the heat and the cool? We're not switching in and out of programs to do this. It's right there. It's right there in front of them. Makes it really simple. When you leave, when you return home, when you're sleeping, do you want to schedule your fans? Some people don't run, even though they got a variable speed and it should really run all the time. Some people want it off while they're at work and on when they're at home. They totally have the flexibility to do that. So it's up to them what they want to do. If I want to schedule any other days, I'm going to do Saturday and Sunday the same and just ask the same questions. Or they can do it individually. Then they can review their schedule. Now on Saturday and Sunday, it automatically canceled my 2 periods in the middle because someone's home all day. So I just got awake in a sleep mode at that point. So let's say I wanted to make a, let me look at my other days. I could go in here if I wanted to make a change, click straight on that, make my change without having to go all the way through the setup again. It just makes it so easy for this homeowner. Is that easy? It's pretty easy. So then the other thing that's in it for the homeowner is vacation mode. June 1st, we're going to Disney World. We're leaving at 10 a.m. I want the cooling ran up to 80 while I'm gone. We're going to be back on the 14th. And we'll be back at 6. I want the cooling back down to where I like it. It tells you exactly in a complete sentence what you just did, what it's going to do till you get back. And then if you got iPhone connection or whatever, you can totally override that. But it gives you a vacation mode. And then if I want to change my humidifier, I can just take my finger and put it where I want it, right? And how many of you use dew point control? Who knows what a, remember the old Aprilaire 1 to 7 scale? You know, if it's set on 5, what's the humidity?
Normal.
Is it? If it's set on 4, what's the humidity? It's not a humidistat, that's a dew point control. What it's doing is putting a limit on the humidifier based on the outdoor temperature, so I don't have that rain cloud happening at the 70-degree indoor temperature versus a 20-degree outdoor temperature, which is what happens. And then water starts to build up on the base of the window, right? And you get that nice black mold ring and each the wood out of the bottom of your windowsill there. So what we do with this, if you have that outdoor sensor, you're going to install this thermostat, you're going to set it on 10. It comes out of the box preset like 6 or 5. Don't leave it there. There's 10 algorithms. One of those are going to fit the house. So the first week of 20-degree weather, they start seeing water build up on the bottom of that window. You say, look, I'm going to move it down to 9, or you move it down to 9, wait 24 hours, look at the windows again. If they're still wet, then I want you to move it down to 8. And if it's still wet 24 hours later, they might end up there. But when they do, you put the correct limit on the humidifier. It will not allow as much humidity, so I keep my windows dry, but as much as allowed on a super cold day. And that's called northern frost protection. And
So
we have this built in.
So it'll start using the outdoor sensor as that. Once you set it that limit, then it works from there.
That's exactly right. And it will keep those windows dry. And once you find the 1 through 10 algorithm for that house, that means that thermostat knows how fast it gains and loses and what percentage it needs to of humidity it's going to allow based on that outdoor temperature. So it's doing all this for you. It's called automatic, and they never have to touch their humidistat again after they get it set. Any questions about that?
Is there a baseline to set that at?
A baseline, yeah, you start at 10 and work your way down every 24 hours.
I mean, what does it come set on? I'm asking. Is it
5 or 6, I can't remember. But it's going to be, you're always going to run it up to the top and educate them, okay, all the way down. When I'm done with that, I've got a dehumidifier. I can set my dehumidification. It's very simple. So, nice and easy thermostat. Oh, by the way, you can do this over the internet too, if you have it hooked up to the gateway. This setting that I just did here, this whole demo, you can get straight off our website, download it to your computer at home. Get used to it before you go practice in front of a homeowner, right? Because what homeowner loves it when you're over there. Okay, Jed, let's set up number 182. Oh, well, I've never seen that before. Don't get in that with your homeowner. They come out hard for people at that point, but you're not going to have to. Very simple.
Is that running an air conditioner for dehumidification or a separate dehumidifier?
You can do either one.
Really?
Yep. So what type of equipment you put in?
Brian.
Okay, so if you're not using your Evolution system and you have a dehume terminal on there, you totally hook it up to mine,
Really?
and it'll do it. It'll slow your fan speed down, so you actually get the coil a little wetter and colder, and then it pulls a couple more gallons of water a day out. If you're a Train dealer, it's a BK terminal. If you're an Armstrong dealer, it says dehume. Most of them say dehume or something similar, and you just run it to our control board. And if you need any questions about how to do that, you got my card. I'll walk you through it. It's totally simple. So 2 wires between those two, and you're able to do all that. So now let's tie these things to the end. You got popcorn. He wants some popcorn. So here's the thing that we're going to move into next is connecting these things to the internet. How many of you have a smartphone? Almost all of you. How many of you control your equipment at your house now to the internet? How many of you has sold this to a homeowner? It should be everybody in this room. And here's why. How many of you go on a service call and they've got their iPad either with them or laying within an arm's reach, and you've got your tool bag going down there to do your cleaning check? This is the next word out of your mouth. It should be, hey, I got an iPad. They're awesome. We have an app for that.
Well, we haven't because it's more, our staff's more proprietary to our equipment. To answer your question, Brian.
But you don't put 100% evolution in. You
Well,
put about 10%.
the clientele that are interested in the
How do you know?
blouse.
don't
That's the ones that ask.
Let's go to Vegas if you know stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm serious.
All right.
You can't prejudge customers. You don't know who's got money and who don't. There's nobody in this room that can tell who's got what. Because just when you think the person isn't going to buy it, they buy it. Right? I sold to homeowners. I know. I prejudge customers. When I moved from a service truck to a sales position, one of the first things I did was I was taught to judge people by what they got. And I quickly learned the guy with the BMW in his driveway, his credit was extended to he couldn't finance a ham sandwich. And then I go to the other side of town, where it didn't really look like from the outside that it was, what am I doing over here? It was a guy who retired from Ford Glass Plant, and he had cash. You can't prejudge people. You have to offer and treat everybody equally. How would you like to be judged? Nobody likes to be judged. Why would you do that to your customer? You never know. You never know who wants it. So if they've got this laying around and you've got a bag full of tools and you're going down to clean the furnace, what do you got to lose by saying, I got an app for that? What if they say, what do you mean you got an app for that? Well, I got a thermostat in my truck right now. I can hook up, and I got a gateway I can plug into your router, bless you, by the way. And you can control your equipment anywhere you are in the world. And if something goes wrong, it'll email you and my service department. What do you got to lose? You got nothing to lose. If you don't have that conversation, then you're going to bring back the service ticket that says, cleaning check, okay, Mrs. Johnson's unit all checks out, everything running fine at this time. I used to fill that ticket out exactly like that.
Well, that's the gateway, right?
That's
Is that what
these two.
Now, do they have to have Wi-Fi for?
I can do Wi-Fi too. We're going to show you how we can get as crazy as you want to get with diagnostics, or something simple, but at the end of the day, they're online.
I think your question
With the rig,
You have a router. You have a router.
They have to have, let's just go through it. First of all, they have to have internet, right?
That's what
They have to have internet. Now, some people, if they're 90 and they don't have internet, this is not for them. I mean, we know our customers, right? But if they, they have any type of computer system, and I tell you, when you go into a house, they don't just have a computer; they have a shrine for that computer, right? It's like, let me see if I can go to the Apple store and get the biggest iMac screen. It's like Ron's downstairs, right? And then when he turns it on, he gets a suntan. It's so big.
You had to reinforce the desk.
Yeah. So, I mean, people have these things at their house. You know, my mom just turned 70. She's online all the time. She's Facebooking with all her cousins in Florida. You know, we put the system in for her doing this. She loves it, thinks it's great. But you got to have internet to begin with. Then, here's how easy it is to put in. So you put the wireless Focus Pro in, or you put the Prestige IQ in, and then you take this gateway out of the box. Now, we don't want you out there being the geek squad, okay? You know, we don't want you doing IP addresses and firewalls, because that's not what your game is. They're heating and air contractors. So, is this stuff in the way? Can you see the bottom of that? So, you take it out of the box, you plug it into an open port on the back of their router. It does not have to be a wireless router. It just has to be a router. Now, if they don't have a router and they just have a modem, go to Radio Shack and buy a splitter for like $12 and keep on your truck, okay? And you can split it. But you need to have an open port on the router. You plug it in the wall on this thermostat right here, which I just unplugged. You can push a button at the bottom, or in the setup screen, you can push add device, and you remember how it was counting down 15 seconds or 15 minutes? On the bottom of this device is a button. I push two buttons, a button at the stat, then I push the button here, go back to the stat, push it again, I'm done. Now I've just connected it. It's that simple. It's no Geek Squad stuff. And then once we get that in there, you take your customer to mytotalconnectcomfort.com. It's clearly listed in this instruction manual is 2 pages. It says press connect here, press connect there, take your customer to mytotalconnectcomfort.com, and then it will actually walk them through. They'll say, it'll ask you questions like, what was your dog's first name? Your first dog's name, I mean, like
Your dog's first name.
what car did you drive? Some security questions, just like you're signing up for any kind of an online account. And then we're going to send them back an email, and that just proves it's them, and then they send it back to us. And on the bottom of this rig, and there's a card in here as well, it said there's 2 numbers. There's a MAC ID number and a CRC code. You simply enter those 2 numbers in there, and then now the homeowner can go straight to the internet, and this is what they see on their desktop. Okay, I live up in Fishers, so I'm going to show you my house real quick. So all the apps are free, and once you put the equipment in, how much should we charge a month for this, do you think? Yeah, we don't charge nothing, because if we did, we wouldn't sell any, would we, Tony? Because Train tried that and they didn't sell any. So we always knew that we shouldn't charge the homeowner for remote connectivity once you already sell this piece of equipment. So I go to my app store or my Android marketplace or whatever they call it. I get that app, I put it on, I push login here, and you know what? People buy these to play Angry Birds and fill them full of apps anyway, right? So make sure it's one of yours. And then I push login. It's going to connect to my house. Now I've got my temperature in my house right now, 77 degrees, 48% relative humidity inside my house. Outside of my house, it's 77, 53% humidity. I've got my fan on auto. I've got it on heat run down to 62 because I'm not going to be back home until next Monday. I'm going to Kentucky and Tennessee until Monday. So, but if I wanted to change it, I could just change it. If something goes wrong, guess what? It's going to email me, and then I'm probably going to call Tony or put his email in there or somebody and say, you know what, I have no heat in my house, or something just happened, or my wet switch, you didn't know that your email's in mine.
Well, I'm going to give all the customers your phone number, so
You already
that's
have.
all right. Yeah.
You already have done that, Tony. So,
Yeah, cell phone.
and I don't care. I really don't. I'm here to help. So isn't this cool? Isn't this cool? And then we added this little here. where if they push that, they get a 5-day forecast out of it. You can totally go to your desktop and program the thermostat from your office downtown Indy, and you live out there by Geist or wherever your customer lives, or they have a lake house down past Columbus or whatever. You're putting these things everywhere. And if something goes wrong, your service department's going to get that email. So think about, if you had 400 of these out there, hooked to different ages of equipment, and then that equipment finally gets to where it dies, and you get an email from the thermostat going, we have no heat. And you get there, and guess who's getting the change out? You're probably going to get the change out because you got the email. You've got them entangled into your business like never before. Don't miss this opportunity for the future. Start now doing this. Because you know what you're seeing? You're seeing a lot of retail, aren't you?
Yeah, yes.
And you know why? Because you won't do it. You have to start selling. The days of putting a wall up between you and the customer and your business that you work at are over. You have to sell this stuff. Otherwise, you're going to be looking for work. Okay? We're going to find a way to sell it to a homeowner because this is what they want. Our focus groups tell us this. I know it. I'm an old heating and air guy. I want it. I'm doing it. There's half the people in this room not doing it and should be. But there's price points. Not every homeowner is going to want to buy that, right? So we've got other options for you, and we'll go through those in a minute. So I got all this control from, and I can add, no matter how many houses I own, no matter how many businesses I own, I can set up one account and manage every single one of them from one account for free, right? We're about, Giorgio and I, my counterpart, we're about to have 400 stores with this company. And the Louisville market, we were just awarded last week. That's 59 of these that's going in already. And they're already stacking these up. Stopping by there in the morning to line out one of the crews on what they need to do. So I'm telling you, don't miss this opportunity. And see how these are lit up in red or highlighted in red? That's the stores where I know there's a problem. So I don't have to search through everything. It's showing me, hey, drill down on this. You've got an issue. And then it's going to tell you the basement is below temp set point, something's wrong with it. The guest room, there's something wrong with that. I know that before I even go out to the job. Those are the 2 rooms I'm going to. I'm not running around the house going, yep, find out what the problem is. I'm going straight to it. I mean, I'm not wasting my time. I'm going straight to the problem, and I probably got the email the same time the homeowner did, but I may have reacted to it before they saw it. Hey, Mr. Johnson, your furnace just sent me an email, buddy. We're on the way out. I mean, how huge is that? And you can do it today. And they don't have to go and seek this out on their own. You should be offering this every single time you're in front of the home. One gateway can run 4 systems. So if I got 4 furnaces in a house, I only need one of these if I got 4 wireless systems. Okay? I did a dentist office up in Fort Wayne a couple weeks ago. Had 18 systems. Had to put 4 of these in. We had some zoning, so we were able to. When you use a Honeywell zone panel in our wireless adapter, even though I have 4 stats, it counts as one system because it's going through my wireless adapter. So, but generally it's 4 thermostats per gateway. And then the homeowner puts in the emails that they want. Your company name and information is also online at their account. It's also on the thermostat. And then they get this. This is what I was showing you with my iPad, but this is the iPhone version of it. I got, what do I want to do in my zone? My heat, cool on or off. Here's my indoor temperature. Here's my outdoor temperature. Everything's on there. I've got all that on here as well. View indoor humidity, view outdoor temperature and humidity. Access multiple thermostats, however many I got in my house. I can do all that from my phone or from my laptop or my iPad or whatever. So all these things, multiple locations. It doesn't matter if I got a house in Florida, I got a house in California, or whatever. I could still manage it out of that one account. And it's very, very simple, and it's all free. I can put the equipment in.
Another nice thing too is if you do light commercial, as Gary mentioned, your franchise owner or your commercial client can see all of his locations, all of his stores from one portal that way.
And he can also tell who's been messing with it. And we're going to deep dive a little more into how we do that. So, it's backward and forward compatible. And what that means is we came out with wireless systems back in 2008. The online connectivity is only 1 year old. That was October 15th of last year when we came out with our ability to connect our wireless systems over the internet. And it's grown it's grown leaps and bounds since we came out with that. So this part number here is what you need to have for the RedLINK systems. Now, the RedLINK systems are by far the strongest signal on the market. If you got a big house, don't use a Wi-Fi system. You need the RedLINK system because it's going to hit those corners. Businesses, you want to use RedLINK on businesses. Okay. So I can use the Focus Pro system, that, and get online, or the Prestige system, that, and I'm online. Okay. So a little bit more about 2.0 Prestige systems. It comes with these two sensors and all that mess. I can also upload my company logo on it, so I don't have to, have a bunch of thermostats laying around. That same USB stick I use to program it, I can upload my company logo, and anytime they need information, they view dealer button, they push it, and it's a high-def billboard for your company. It has all the information you need right there. It's two-piece, so I told you that. And then there's that handheld little thing. So if my upstairs is too hot and I can't zone it, I can add that follow me remote. And if it's a long house where there's a temperature difference on one side because the thermostat is always around the corner in that hallway, that hallway's perfect temperature. But over here in my great room, it's 3/4 of it's glass and it's drafty. So I can take it in there, read from its device, and now it's sensing from where I set that thing. Or I can take it upstairs like that and have some sort of control till, yes.
Is that able to do temperature averaging to the rheostat and that? Yeah.
No, that doesn't, but I do have something that will allow that when we get to it. If we do zoning, you can use this thermostat here and just add power to it, and then it will connect wirelessly between here and here with the signals. But there is another solution for you as we move into next year. So let's look at some of the diagnostics and stuff like that. If you have no heat, or you have some sort of an issue where your delta T is out of range, it's going to bring this alarm up. It's not going to tell the homeowner your delta T is out of range because they're not going to know what that is, right? So we're not going to say that. We're going to say your system needs service. And then they're going to say push dealer info, and then your information is going to come up. Okay. Now you're going to know what it is because we have an alerts log and a user interactions log built onto this 2.0 thermostat. Okay. So you can go in there and see exactly what the customer did. Your service call might have been, you know what, at 7 o'clock, my air conditioning never cuts on, and it gets up to 80 degrees in here. You can actually go to this user interactions log and see that their 13-year-old son's playing tricks on their mom and running the temperature up to 80, and it'll show you that. So all the user interactions, or the customer changed their setup from a geothermal to a single-stage furnace. All that stuff, you're going to know what's going on because we have those logs for you. And that USB stick at the bottom, you can download the logs to that, take it to your office and open it up in your Excel spreadsheet, and it'll show you all that stuff. That's in this thermostat. So back to alerts log. I like to know when things happen. So I come here and it tells me exactly what happened at my delta T, what time of day, and everything, and told me that the cooling system operated below the minimum delta T of 15 degrees after running for 10 minutes. It's going to point me to my compressor, and I may have a compressor failure. I go out there and check it. It sounds like marbles rolling around in it. Instead of that 100-degree day when it finally kills it, we're pulling some of that business into the time where you wish, everybody's busy when it's 100. Hey, where were they when it was 80? Well, if I'd have had this on there monitoring it, I could have probably swung them into that month, right, before I'm having to turn business away. So those are already in there. And then I got all these details with alerts that I can go through and scroll through on that thermostat. So as a service tech, it's nice to just get in front of it, go to the alerts log, the fault menus, and go through there and see what's been going on, right? Do everybody agree with that? Mm-hmm. And then that helps you diagnose that system. And we put as much diagnostics into this without being proprietary like Carrier Brian is with their board. But this is telling you almost everything that their system's saying, if not even a little more. So here's the other cool thing. How many of you sell spring and fall maintenance agreements? Everybody should, right? How many of them, is there a thermostat out there that reminds them it's time for that? Because this one does. I can program it by date or by average temperature outside, and it'll start popping up. It's time for your fall maintenance, or it's time for your spring maintenance. Now we're getting them back into your business even more. I can put there's 10 user definable messages that you can put into this thermostat. So let's say you sold them the system, but they didn't buy the humidifier from you because they just said, we're lucky to just finance the system. We'll do the humidifier later. The next really humid day, the next year, need more humidity, call Williams Comfort Air for exclusive discount on whole house humidifier. You can totally have 10 of these messages embedded into that thermostat. That's cheaper than a mailer.
Does it email them too?
It will email you. There's 90 email alerts you can come out of here. Or you can do none of it, right? Or you can do none of it, but it's there for you. And I was the Chicago rep when we were developing this, and I had it in a test site. And the homeowner goes, I never can remember to flush, to get the water, winterize my sprinkler system. Can I put that in there? Absolutely. It had nothing to do with heat and air. And every September, it reminds him to flush out his sprinkler system. You can put your anniversary in there if you can't remember that. It doesn't have to be heat and air, but it's a marketing message, and it's all about marketing, right?
Absolutely.
Your business is based on, how much. I'm in the shower in the mornings these days, going, be wiser, call Kaiser. I can't get out of my head. It's your fault. You know what I mean? Or the Williams commercial, or whatever. And those things work. Advertising works. And you don't have to be the biggest company in town. But if you put that stat in and that comes up, you got a 50-50 chance of them calling you back. So use those marketing embeds that we have in here. For commercial spaces, this is what it's going to look like. It's going to say occupied, unoccupied. And instead of having a big black magic marker across the top of it that says RTU1, and it ruins the look of the stat, you can name the thermostat. Remember how I named mine Crosby House? I can name it Jack's Office, RTU1, RTU2, and it shows up here on the screen instead of having to ruin it and write it in, your black magic marker on there. I can also tie in my drain pans and stuff. I already showed you that. On commercial jobs, I might want to wire some sensors, one 10K ohm and maybe one with a 20K. And the reason I do that is so I can do some weighting. like I want 25%, 25%, 50%. That's a common thing in the commercial. With this Prestige, I don't have to worry about square roots anymore. With the touchscreens in our other commercial thermostats, you have to do 4 or 9, right? And you have to series parallel wiring. And it's just old school. Portable comfort control, I can carry it around anywhere. This is what this thing right here is probably one of the most important and creative things I think we've done with thermostats in a long time. The indoor sensors are wireless now. Okay, so if I want to do averaging, I can put this thermostat on one end of my house, put a wireless sensor on the other end, average between those two. I could put up to 6 wireless sensors on this one thermostat and do averaging now. Okay, so if I've got a light commercial job, I can put 6 sensors in. You know, have the thermostat actually in the manager's office, where all you're looking at is sensors out there in the space, so nobody's messing around with it. It also reads humidity. So let's say on a residential job, I got a dehumidifier downstairs because that's where all my humidity problem is. But my controls upstairs in my house, I can put that wireless sensor downstairs, tell the thermostat to sense the humidity from downstairs, but I'm controlling it from up here, and now I'm getting a good zone humidity control out of the system. So they're totally wireless, and it runs temperature and humidity. It's pretty nice, don't you think? All right, so I can do this by adding it to my crawl space main level or my thermostat to average. And it's just asking you where you want to control the thermostat from, okay? Or control the wireless sensor from if you're doing humidity. So these come packaged in a kit, and you can buy them in different things in the box. This is just a basic system. You can buy them with the outdoor sensor and that handheld all in one box if you want all that. Well, it depends on what you want, okay?
Are you going to keep these out of the retail market, or is that just going to be in our area? Because that
Depends on
retail
how
market
much you're going to
hurts
sell
me.
to homeowners.
Okay.
Because if you're not going to sell to homeowners, we're going to put more in retail. That's just the way it is.
Because I have a hard time when I go to sell them a thermostat, your Vision Pro or something. They say, well, I can go buy that down at Lowe's for $15, $20. Well,
That's not your customer, guys.
Yeah.
That's not your customer. I sell $8.5 million worth of thermostats through trade in 3/4 of Indiana and Kentucky. None of it went through Home Depot. That's contractors doing it. They don't sell nowhere near that amount in Home Depot. And the reason that you see stuff in Home Depot or on the internet is because 90% of my contractor base will not talk to a homeowner about nothing. You guys know I'm telling the truth, right? We'll go in there and yeah, we fixed it. Well, she had a 30-year-old thermostat on the wall that had mercury in it. Never offered her a thing. We outlawed mercury stats 6 years ago in the state. Right? And there's 99% of the contractor service techs that walk in that house never even mentioned that to them. Said, you know what, we can safely remove that. You have a mercury thermostat. We can safely remove that, take it down to Jackson Systems where we buy our thermostats, and they'll put it, send it to Honeywell so it doesn't end up in the water stream. You want to put one in today? Is that doing the homeowner right or doing the homeowner wrong? Is that doing the environment right or doing the environment wrong? Is that doing your job or is that not doing your job? I can't make you sell to homeowners, but I can tell you should be, because somebody's going to get to them, right? And otherwise there wouldn't be a retail stream. There wouldn't be an internet business. You know, it's how you market your company. And I'm telling you this wholeheartedly because I used to be there. You know, I used to sell to homeowners and I used to not. And at some point a switch had to go off in my head to say, you know, they probably are better served if I'm doing this instead of somebody that sent a flyer and got around you, right? Because your company is going to do them right, you can't say that about every company. I mean, I've seen some horror stories out there as a contractor myself, going back on people's jobs. You've all seen it too. So, you either want to get it or you don't. But you're not getting, if you're worried about what that one or two, if there's only one or two customers a year that argue with you about Home Depot. It's not every customer you're at. And when I ask that honestly, people tell me, yeah, it's really not that many. But you will spend 90% of your time worried about that when you need to be focused on your business. You know, because I could have started asking you questions. What's your profit margin? What are you making a year in profit? You probably couldn't answer it. You should know those because you're in business to make money. I don't know about you guys, money comes in pretty stinking handy in my house. It's handy stuff, money is. And I can't figure out a way to make enough of it. But if you're out there every day letting these homeowners know that, you know what, we have an app for that. Or by the way, did you know that they have better filter systems that'll help reduce dust in your home? Or did you know that you have spray foam insulation and I can put a ventilator in here that'll act like the lungs of your home? They'll say no, they'll say yes. But if you don't start talking to them or asking them these questions, like, hey, Mr. Johnson, it's 10 degrees hotter upstairs than it is downstairs. How's that working for you? Right? What are they going to say? Yeah, just leave it. Mabel and I love to sweat at night up there. They're not going to say that. They're going to give you the problem. They're going to give you the problem. They're going to say, you know what? We moved down here from Chicago 6 years ago, and we don't know what's going on. We thought about getting window units. The thermostat's down here. We've been cranking it down. You should have already looked at the ductwork as a service tech or a salesman to know whether you can zone it or not. Sell them a zoning system, offer something, or at least at a minimum say we can at least let you take the thermostat upstairs tonight. And you should know that before you even get out of the truck because they got 2-story house and 1 condenser out there. What does that equal? That equals burning up upstairs.
Stratification.
I mean, you got the opportunities. How many of you are using these opportunities or doing something about it?